Good evening, everybody. You are now tuned into my podcast, Difficult People Chronicles. I'm seriously focused, Johnny, SF Johnny. Today's episode is called no, Control. Control. One of the things I struggle with on a constant basis that I'm working on is control. And it's not controlling other people, it's controlling, it's control in a sense of learning how to let go and let God. We all have that issue. All. I was talking to a classmate about that because they said that they had a project on the table to do, and what happened was they knew they were supposed to do it one way, but they decided to do it differently, and then they thought everything was okay and then it wasn't, and they got upset, but they knew God told them to go in another direction, the direction they should have went the first time. And I said, that's one of our biggest things is control. A lot of times, ego doesn't only have to deal with desires like appearance and all that other stuff. It's also the ability to control situations, knowing that you should be doing otherwise. And this is what it looks like: a person who is egotistical, not their truest self that God created, and they feel the need to control another person because that is what their flesh wants. And in a nutshell, it's a struggle because the other person's spirit knows who they are, walks with God, is their truest self. And this other individual who is egotistical ends up trying to control this person because that's what they want so much that they become a narcissist. And I said to her, don't feel any kind of way about it, just ask God for forgiveness and try not to control certain things the next time. So that brought me to the question, Matthew 7:7, ask and it is given. Seek and ye shall find, knock and the doors will be open unto you. A lot of times we go to God with the question, and I'm seeing this a lot, like with clients, where there's no patience. We want to control a situation. It's like if we don't hear from God, we just gonna move forward. And a lot of times we can't do that. I had to learn that. I learned that through my mother because there was times, situations, I was just like going to my mom's and I was like, what should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? My mother said, well, did you go to God in prayer? And I said, yeah. She said, well, what happened? I said, I didn't get an answer yet. She said, did you get an answer or did you not get an answer? And you wasn't listening. Like, which one? And I was just like, I didn't get an answer. And I started to move on my own accord. And then my mother was like, did God tell you to do that? And I was just like, no, he didn't say anything. She said, oh, so why can't you just wait? And that's one of the things that we fail to do. We fail to be patient. We want to control every situation, but yet we say let go and let God. Even in relationships. I had to learn that in relationships. I had to learn that, well, not in relationships, more so waiting on God, because I would jump into a relationship and I would say, in the beginning I would say, God, is this person for me? Get no answer, jump straight in the relationship only to jump back out, go running, kick my shoes off running, like, oh no. And nowadays, if God doesn't say, if he does not say move forward, I'm not moving. Because my peace means so much to me, like so much. I had too many of those nightmares, too many. I say, God, meet a guy, and I'm just like, oh, he is handsome, for real, for real. And I say, God, is he the one for me? Next thing you know, I get no type of answer. But if it was a bad guy, like really bad, like say he was abusive or something, God would be like, God would tell me real quick, like real quick. If he was married, God would tell me he married. And if God didn't say anything, I would just move at my own pace, only to kick off my heels running. We got to stop controlling the situation. And one of the things that came to me, let me look at my phone because it was in my notes, is that with grace, deliverance from sin and its consequences, some things do not immediately manifest for us. Some things are the end result of our spiritual journey with God. With grace, deliverance from sin, gifts, blessings, and consequences. Some things do not immediately manifest for us. Some things are the end result of our spiritual journey with God. So when we go to God in prayer and we ask God for some things, you can't go to God in prayer and then 2 seconds later you taking off running into the next direction without even waiting on God's word. I'm just say that. Because where did that come from? That came from some people wanting their situation to change without changing themselves. Meaning that, like I always say, you can't change a situation, you can't change other people, but you can change yourself. But they don't want to change themselves. They rather do it the other way around. They rather change the person or the situation, but they don't want to change themselves. And God might say something like, you need to wait, be patient. There's some things you need to be doing on your spiritual walk with me. Like you might need to ask for forgiveness or come to me in prayer or give up whatever you're doing, but you refuse to do that. And it feels like you waiting forever. Yeah. And I'm saying that because I only know what I went through. I know that I went to God in prayer about some things. God told me when he was going to give it to me, but I was like, I want it now. And then I went after whatever on my own accord. No, it doesn't work like that. You got to stop controlling the situations, because when you control the situation and you get exactly what you asked for, the only person you could be mad at is yourself. You can't be mad at God. You can't be mad at Courtney down the street or Chris. Can't be mad at none of those people. You got to get mad at yourself because you tried to control the situation and you were supposed to let go and let God and be patient with the process, because there might be some things that you might need to learn before you get into that situation, get with that person, or get to that next level. And I have to constantly remind myself that about letting go and letting God, because sometimes I feel like I'm not controlling the situation when I really am controlling the situation. I would look at a situation from a different perspective and it doesn't seem like I'm controlling it, but I really am. And I had to admit to myself that I was controlling the situation because someone else brought it up to me. They said, but did you let go and let God? And I said, huh? And I was like, yeah. But then when I went home and I sat down and I took some time to just think about things, and I said, I am controlling the situation. Yeah. Even, I'm going to give you an example. If God says you need to rest and relax, and you decide to tell your husband or your wife to take the kids and go away on vacation so you can have time to yourself. And then every 5 minutes, your spouse and the kids is having fun. You're calling. What you doing? What you eat? Who's there with you? And then you just failing to relax. Sleep, rejuvenate. You still got your hand in the situation because you're not doing what you were supposed to be doing. You more worried about what's going on with the other people, whether they ate. You more worried about what's going on with your spouse and the kids, whether they ate, who's there with them, is it a safe place, did they get parking, did they get the tent up, is the fish cooked, that none of the kids dropped off in the water. Instead of letting go and letting God and knowing that everything is going to work itself out. That's what I had to learn. See, my problem was I tried to control situations because I didn't trust the process. Like the time we had a potluck, I had planned to make chicken, but a lot of people wanted me to make cornbread because the cornbread came out really good. The problem I had was that I had moved, so I no longer had a gas stove. I had an electric stove. And for some reason that year, everything I tried to bake, the top would burn and the middle was never cooked. And I knew someone who was a chef by trade. So he was telling me how to make the cornbread over the phone. He was like, do this because it's a electric stove. And that night, I could say I made cornbread 3 times. It was just, I would say the first time I didn't even listen. The second time I knew what I was doing. And the third time he was like, take a picture. Let me see what it looked like. And I was just like, I'm not doing it. I'm done. Like, I'm not. I'm gonna go get potato rolls or something, and I'm gonna be that person to show up with potato rolls and a jar of butter. That's it. Like, I'm done. I was frustrated. And he was just like, you're not listening. So he said, go to Target. And at the time, I lived right around the corner from Yukon. So Target is across the street. And he was like, go to Target And I was just like, it's about to close. He said, yeah, I know, but go anyway. So I ran out my house, jogged down the street, and got to Target and ran up all those steps. Why? Because for some strange reason, the elevator doesn't seem to work all the time. Jogged up all the steps, got to the cornbread aisle, got the cornbread, paid for it, and felt like I had asthma from all that jogging. Got home and it was on. And then he was telling me, he was like, do this, make sure when you put the stove at this temperature and X, Y, Z. I did listen to him, but what I did was I kept turning on the light to look to see if the cornbread was gonna burn or not. And it came out fine. And I took it to the function and everybody ate it and they liked it and all this other stuff. And you know, with me and that cornbread, it was so crazy. I even prayed. I was like, God, can you just let this cornbread come out correct so I could get some sleep? Because I think that day when I made that cornbread, it was like I went to bed like 12 something off of some cornbread. I was like, are you kidding me? I got to stop controlling situations and trust the process. And that's what you all have to do too. You got to learn to stop controlling situations, certain situations, and trust the process. That's what I had to learn. And I know with me, calling every 5 minutes, like, oh, is this happening? Is this good? Did this person get there safely? And yada, 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 and all this other stuff. I know the people like, will she stop calling me? I had to learn. Let go and let God. And that's what you all have to learn. Stop controlling the situation. So if God tells you to do some things or you feel like whatever situation you're in is pure chaos, you need to sit back and say, once I went to God in prayer and I said, I'm going to let go and let God. Did you really let go and let God? Because if you didn't let go and let God, that's why you're still in the same situation and it's getting worse. You're not allowing God to do his will. That's all I'm going to say for today. For one-on-one session, email me. Go to my website, seriouslyfocusedjohnny.com. For suggested topics, email me. Check out my store. Check me out on YouTube. Like, subscribe, smash the notification. All the links is underneath. I'm still giving away free sessions for 30 minutes. Type in the subject box freebie and good luck on your chance to win. Later.